Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another weekly, first time in 2021, episode of 80-Bit Newscast. We are Penguin and Termite. I am your host, Termite, and...
I am your host, Penguin.
And we are 80-Bit Pod Smash. We're normally a weekly video game podcast that goes out Mondays, but we also have this weekly show here on twitch.tv where we run you through news you need to know about the gaming industry and the things that we're digging. And we're back from our 2-week hiatus for the holidays.
Right. Yep.
And here we are.
That's right. And we are running down a couple of news stories for you today. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be asking, are cheats still a thing? And talking about some interesting secrets discovered in Nier Automata recently. We're going to talk about how the Persona soundtrack is coming to Spotify tonight. So we'll talk a little bit about that. January released their PlayStation Plus offerings. Did I say January?
Mm-hmm.
Did I say PlayStation?
You did.
PlayStation.
You said all that.
Okay. For January, PlayStation released their offerings, so we'll talk about what those are. And we're going to talk about Doug Bowser's thoughts on the Xbox Game Pass. The Xbox Game Pass, because Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo. So we'll talk more about that, as well as some comments he may have made about upcoming hardware for the Nintendo. So I suppose may or may not have made. So those are the stories we're going to be covering. We'll be upfront and honest and say it is January. It is the first stream of January. Mm-hmm. And when we first started talking about doing this show, this newscast show, I remember one of my concerns was, what do we do when we've got a slow news week? And we didn't have many of those the back half of 2020 when we launched this show, but it is now 2021, and the gaming industry news kind of dries up at this period of time as people are away on vacations and stuff like that. So we are scraping the bottom of the barrel here, but we'll talk about what we talk about. If the episode's short as a result of it, then so be it. A little bit of housekeeping, as always. Please hold your comments. Jot your comments down in the stream, but be aware that we may not be responding to your comments until the end of the show as we focus on the news. But feel free to give us encouragement, to troll us, to comment on the things you're hearing, and correct us if we make factual errors, and all that stuff. So, is there anything else to mention before I go on?
Yes. This is a weekly live news stream show here at twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash that we will upload to YouTube. If you miss it live, you can always catch it there on video on demand. So with that, you can always head to our website, 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing site with links to all of our social media platforms as well as YouTube. That's also our landing site for our podcast, and you can grab our RSS feed or any of the other audio podcasting platform links. Whichever one you use, you can hit that subscribe, and you can be up to date with us all the time. You'll be made aware of when we're live on Twitch, and when we're live on YouTube, or not live on YouTube, but when a new video uploads to YouTube. So just be aware that we have all of that going on as well. So if you're interested in what you like here, you can always find us there and get more Penguin and Termite.
More. All right, well then, without further ado, let us jump into our first story. So...
Nier Automata.
Nier Automata. The game was chock full of little secrets and little tidbits, and the creator of the game had mentioned that there was one secret that players had not yet discovered. And it's been, 4 years? Mm-hmm. 4 years, almost 4 years since the game came out. I believe it came out in February of 2017, I want to say. Feel free to correct me on that. But I know it came out the same year Breath of the Wild did, and I think it came out before Breath of the Wild. So I want to say February or January of 2017. So almost 4 years later, players finally found the final secret. So Termite, did you want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
I will take it away. So over at GameSpot.com, Gabe Gerwin, give them the click. Nier Automata's game-skipping final secret discovered nearly 4 years after release. The cheat lets you effectively skip the majority of the game, as if you'd want to. Nier Automata is a very strange game, with multiple endings, necessary in order to actually see its final ending, and some of its content actually repeated from a different character's perspective. This all comes together to deliver one of the most memorable conclusions in video games. But one clever player has managed to figure out a way to let you skip nearly all of it. In fact, he uncovered the last secret the game was hiding. It only took 4 years. So if you are at all sensitive to spoilers for a 4-year-old game that you may or may not have played or want to, now's the time to kind of skip ahead if you don't want to.
Wait, I'm gonna replay it and I haven't finished it yet, so maybe be careful about actual story spoilers.
It's not going to be a story spoiler, but it does have a little bit of a warning.
No, I got you. Yeah.
So once you've unlocked ending E, that could be the spoiler in Nier Automata, you're presented with a final credits sequence that sees other players' save data assisting you in a retro shooter sequence to defeat the text itself. It's very Smash Bros.
Yeah.
And completing that gives you a chance to sacrifice your own save data, thus erasing all of your progress in order to give another player the chance to beat the game too. That is crazy.
I did read about that.
I never knew that. Anyway, so
I didn't know either, but it's not till like the ending, which is I don't know. I don't know what necessarily ending E is, but I think if I'm correct in remembering my playthrough of it, like there's the 3 main playthroughs of it that are basically like, when you say playthrough, you think like Borderlands where you're replaying the same content. Like it's only partially that, and there's like one of the playthroughs is entirely different. Like it takes place after the ending of the previous playthrough and is entirely more content. So I'm assuming it's that ending. I'm assuming that's the actual ending, and that's where you, after that ending, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming it's after that ending that you get this credit sequence that other people have sacrificed their save data to help you with.
Which is interesting now that this cheat has been found, because that kind of makes it easier for you to be willing to sacrifice your save data. So here's what the cheat is and does. Except for the cheat itself hasn't been revealed yet. So this guy, Lance McDonald, over on Twitter, @ManFightDragon, I found a cheat code in Nier Automata that allows you to skip to the last ending immediately after killing the first boss and unlock the bonus modes. He says, I'll do a full video soon. It's not a glitch. It's an actual cheat code hard-coded into the engine @Yokotaro.
And he reverse engineered the game's code in order to figure it out too, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts. Like, this thing clearly he... What was the guy's name? What was the creator's name?
The creator, Yokotaro?
Yokotaro, yeah. So clearly Yokotaro, like, included this in there in order... knowing that people may not ever discover it, which is crazy.
How Ready Player One of this.
Yeah, very much so. So, because again, the fact that they had to go to such great lengths to find it, like literally reverse engineering the code of the game, is pretty insane.
Yeah, so, there's a little clip of the cheat in action, and it works. But it's interesting here. I didn't even realize that was the whole point. It's like for developers to like test whether or not they could sacrifice game data to allow the end credit scene for assistance. So that makes total sense why this is here. So I'm wondering now, Termite, Trophy Hunter, if I could just do that, get the platinum, sacrifice the save, help someone else, and then play through the game at my leisure and not have to worry about any trophies and just enjoy the game.
I feel like there are trophies associated with other things throughout the playthrough, so you probably still need to. You probably couldn't. It's not just like, here's a free trophy, here's a free platinum trophy.
I was thinking about the store. Sorry, I skipped a jump. There's the thought you can buy all the trophies in the in-game store. So if you can fast forward through the end and beat the last boss, I don't know how money works. Do you get like a major reward for money for grinding the bosses? And so you could just do the cheat and fight different boss. There's 20 endings in the game, so you'd want to do this like 19 times anyway.
Well, but like most of the endings are joke endings. If you like die in a certain spot, then it'll be like a joke ending. There's only like 3 like cinematic actual endings or whatever in the game, as far as I remember.
What a crazy game.
It's nuts. I'm so excited that this has come back in the news because I recently bought it on the holiday sale, a digital copy of the game for the PlayStation, so that I can get trophies.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be playing it early this year whenever I have an open slot. So
maybe you'll
I'm
play
really
this,
excited.
and I'll be
I might try if it's after beating the first boss, I could just do the cheat to see if it works. Maybe get a trophy out of it. I don't know. But either way, it'd be fun to try it out. Just because it's something new and something exciting and relevant. So, all right, that is probably enough about that. Let's move on to our next story. We haven't necessarily milked that one for all it's worth. So let's move on to our next story, which is...
So maybe you'll be playing Nier Automata while I finally play through Persona for the first time. Speaking of Persona...
Talking about Japanese games.
The Persona soundtracks are coming to Spotify tonight at midnight.
Yes.
And so this write-up comes by way of The Verge from Bijan Steven. I hope that's how you pronounce your name, because I don't know how. Persona heads rejoice. It looks like all of the original soundtracks for most of the games are coming to Spotify at midnight.
Oh, all the games, not just 5. That's awesome.
The news comes courtesy of Ani Playlist, purveyors of fine anime song playlists. And here's the following list of games that are included: Persona 5, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3 and FES, Persona 2 Sound Collections, but you also get Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Persona 4 Arena Ultimix, Nevermore Reincarnation Persona 4, Persona 3 and 4 Vocal Sound Collection, PQ and PQ2, I don't know what those are, Music FES 2013, and Super Live 2015. So,
Wow.
That's a lot of Persona music.
Yeah, it's a lot of Persona music. Well, good thing Persona music is great.
And apparently it's bumping, so I can't wait to be jamming out to that at my work day.
Yes. That's awesome. Yep.
I love video game soundtracks coming to Spotify. Square Enix recently, like I say recently, it was within the last 2 years, just dumped all the Final Fantasy soundtracks on Spotify, so you can just listen to all of it. And I create a huge, massive playlist, and like I use it all the time. And so I wish Nintendo would do it. Nintendo, do it.
Oh my
Get on
god,
there.
do it, Nintendo. Yeah, that's awesome.
Anything you want to add about that?
No, other than I'm excited. I love Persona 5's music. That was for a game where it is a lot of the same music over and over again for a very long, like 120-hour game or something like that. It's remarkable how not old it gets, like how it stays. Like at least it never gets maddeningly, you know what I mean? Like maddeningly infuriating, the same music over again. It stays in that range of like, okay, yep, I've heard this before, and it's okay, it's fine, I'm okay with it. So, cool, awesome, good to know.
We never saw it coming.
You never saw it coming.
All right, next up, our January PlayStation Plus allotment that Sony has unveiled to us. That
tell
we
me,
get.
what do I get for free?
What do
for
you
my
get?
monthly subscription, or weekly, or yearly subscription.
Hey, last year we got $800 worth of video games for the whole year
for a small price of like
$60.
$60
for a
bucks
year.
or less.
If you
I always
find a
get them
deal.
on sale.
Yeah.
I always find it like 30, $35.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just tack it on. I don't even know when my PS Plus subscribe ends because I just tack them on every time I find them on sale. So anyway, we are going to get for PlayStation 5, which I love. Last month we got Bug Snacks for December. This month we get Man Eater, which is a hilarious, like, ultimate power fantasy with a terrifying shark.
You play as the shark. It's a shark game where you play as the shark. It's Jaws the game, and it always looked really, really fun. So I'm excited that I will now have a copy of it to play around with. I might even stream it just for fun, just for giggles.
You should do that.
It would be a blast.
Apparently the trophy list is pretty easy, so you can get a platinum out of that.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's a Shark PG. Get it? Where you are the shark. That's courtesy of PlayStation Blog. I didn't make that up. So that's the PS5 game. So the rest of the games are Shadow of the Tomb Raider for PS4. It's the third entry in Lara Croft's like remake series, the original Tomb Raider, followed by Rise of the Tomb Raider, and this is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So you'll get that for free. And Greedfall. I don't know if you've heard of Greedfall.
Yes, I have. It's an action RPG, and I remember reading things about it when it first came out and being like, that's cool. I don't think I'll get it because there's too much. I believe it came out at a time where there was already too much going on. But remember it had passed like by my radar, so I might look into playing that as well. So that's a great month's offering. Like they had some bad months before, not bad months, I should say. They've had months that have not been attractive to me whatsoever recently. So the fact that there's at least 2 solid games in there that I'm like, I would download and play those tonight is pretty awesome.
Especially in like the sea of COVID 2021. COVID quarter 1 2021. That's hard to say. There's nothing. Like there's no big giant releases coming out in January or even that I'm aware of in February. And this is a great time to jump into some of these old games, jump into the PlayStation Plus collection, like kick back your backlog. And Termite knows there's going to be so many games delayed that are anticipated for this year into 2022. So
that's
the delays will keep coming.
I'm looking at the blog here, and I love how the picture of Shadow of the Tomb Raider is like the Croft Manor with like the tombstones and the fog and everything. And like that is not the game's aesthetic at all. The game's aesthetic is like, I mean, it's still dark, but it's like a jungle. It's like a jungle game. You're in like the jungles of South America or whatever. And so I'm like, that's a very misleading still shot of what the game's vibe is. Because you look at that and you'd be like,
ooh.
Or English Manor. No, it's not that at all. That's like from an early flashback scene or something. I don't even remember.
Your mic just switched.
Did it?
Yep. I don't know what happened.
Oh, hold on.
This is it. Inside baseball, everybody gets a glimpse into a penguin and termite.
I see it.
Oh, there's a little bit of an echo. You got my voice twice.
I did. Oh man, stupid Mike.
It was a great time because we were kind of done with that story anyway, unless you wanted to talk about any of the other offerings.
No, it's lost my mic now. It won't give me the option to select it back
Greedfall.
without me leaving the call, probably.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we
If I
can just
leave the
push
call,
on.
what happens?
A lot of visual glitches will happen.
Great.
Because
So
I have
good.
Streamlabs captures the Discord window, so if you leave, the Discord window changes, then all of what you see here is gonna be jacked.
Fun.
Yep, a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, I will just lean in closer to my camera then, because that's probably what I'm going to have to do.
We get to see your face, with all the
Yeah.
little details.
So close. So
We're
much
on
space.
our last news story anyway, so.
That's great. All right. So last news story is.
So this actually was December 16th. Was when you were describing it and I cut you off. So go ahead. My bad.
Yes, Doug Bowser talks about the Xbox Game Pass coming to the Switch, and then he also has some info, kind of updates, soft updates on the rumors of the Switch Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So take it away, Termite.
Sure. This is a massive Polygon interview. It came out December 16th, and we're just reporting on it because we took 2 weeks off. So this had been floating around for a while. Russ Frush. I can't even say his name. Russ Frushstick. Go find him on Twitter. Give him the click. Over at Polygon has this whole. I mean, they spent a lot of time. It's very long. They talk about a bunch of different stuff. I'm just pulling 2 question and answer sessions out of the interview to talk here because they're the most interesting, in my opinion. This is 80-Bit Newscast. We're your host, Penguin and Termite. You get the news that we find the most interesting. So here you are. And we're going to talk about what Bowser had to say about Xbox Game Pass coming to the Nintendo Switch, which a lot of people have talked about and speculated this could be a very real thing. So I'm going to read the question, which is kind of long, and his response. So the question is, I want to talk a little bit about Nintendo Switch Online and the work Nintendo has done with that service. Obviously, some major releases came out this year that were exclusive to the service. Do you foresee that as being sort of the strategy? You know, obviously, there's a group of people that just want to play online games with their Switch, so they're just going to subscribe for that. But in terms of bringing people in, do you see that as being a main strategy to get people subscribed? These exclusive, like Tetris 99, Super Mario Bros. 35, stuff like that? What will give people a reason to subscribe to this service? And Bowser goes on to say, we're continuing to watch how people are engaging with the service. The top 2 reasons that people today purchase a subscription to Nintendo Switch Online are the ability to play games online, and the second is the ability to engage in content like you just mentioned, Mario 35, Tetris 99, but also the catalog of NES and SNES titles. We're at over 100 titles that are available right now. There's a little bit more to that answer, but I'm going to skip ahead to the next question. So the big talking point of this year is the games industry has been Microsoft's Game Pass. Obviously, they're different because Game Pass is a subscription fee to access a library of games, not a fee people pay to play online. Do you see Nintendo Switch Online as the counteroffer to something like Game Pass? Bowser says, the way I look at it, we want to offer consumers choices on Nintendo Switch, and obviously the ability to buy the games and play the games that they choose to play. The fact that we have well over an 8.0 attach rate to every Switch unit that's been installed over the last 4 years is an indication that consumers want to consume content that way. Sorry, just to confirm that by that way, you mean purchasing games individually. Exactly, purchasing games individually. But we also recognize that there are consumers who want to have access to other parts of our back catalog, like our NES and SNES titles. Sorry, there's a lot of speak, but it's all context. The Nintendo Switch Online is a way that they're able to access those titles. So we want to give them options on how they would want to consume content. So we're leveraging both to give them access to a wide catalog. And this is the interviewer, I know that people have asked and spoken to Microsoft regarding the idea of something like Game Pass ever appearing on Switch. Is that something that you are ever considering? Bowser says this. The way I would answer that, Russ, is we're always looking at various ways that we can engage our consumers right now. We have found that our catalog and third-party publishing catalog that's available, whether that's through Nintendo Switch Online or through Frontline game purchase, has really been allowing us to do that. That's what he said. So yeah,
non-answer.
Yep, it's a clickbait headline. It's a non-answer, and it's kind of frustrating.
So.
That's the reason why I wanted to talk about it here. So all of that lead up like up to the point where he's actually talking about Game Pass, he highlighted a couple of things that are interesting here, and that is that 8.0 attach rate and the fact that people are buying games like off the shelf. They're still buying physical games. Now we know Microsoft has reported that ever since Game Pass has come out, the games that are featured in Game Pass have reported an increase in their sales of games elsewhere. So it's almost like if you come out with a game and you put it on Game Pass, your sales just get a bump. I guess because of exposure, word of mouth, maybe friends want to get it, but they don't want to subscribe to Game Pass, etc. So you see Nintendo playing into that strength. Like Bowser's highlighting that fact, which indicates there's no Game Pass coming to Switch. And then trying to like talk about how the NES and SNES titles are an extra add-on. Like people are paying for Nintendo Switch Online just to be able to play games online, like Mario Kart and Smash Bros. And then the extra Super Nintendo games are just like an extra benefit. He's almost de-emphasizing that. But, you know, the PR spin is that, oh, we want to provide options, all kind of options for our customers. And, yeah. So what do you think about all that?
I think it's a non. There's no confirmation. It's often, I get skeptical about these kinds of news interviews, and you can tell there's a bit of a stretch here, too, where it's just like, he's not giving real answers because this is not the medium with which to give those answers. If he's going to announce Game Pass for Nintendo Switch, it's going to be during, at the very least, a what do you call it, Nintendo Direct. So I understand why the interviewer is asking the questions. So I don't blame him at all for that. But I also I don't expect to get straight answers in a interview like this. But that said, that doesn't mean that we can't glean some idea of Nintendo strategy from the interview whatsoever. And I would say that based on what he's given us, it's unlikely that that's the direction they're going to go because of what he described with the off-the-shelf sales. And I mean that goes into the other part of this interview that was interesting too, was his answer on the Switch Pro. When asked about essentially if they were holding back games for the Switch Pro, he similarly just said that like the Nintendo Switch is selling super well right now. Like, the Nintendo Switch is going on to its 4th year, and we've seen a jump in people coming to the platform. He specifically mentions that they've seen, and he says this year in particular, we've seen more women gamers come to the Nintendo Switch platform, women that had not owned a Nintendo Switch platform in the past, and they're engaging in our content in new and different ways. So Nintendo's once again got a console that, though less powerful and less competitive than its contemporaries, is hitting demographics that have fallen by the wayside, so to speak. Not that there aren't women gamers, but it seems to be hitting. Like he's implying that like women are coming to the platform that aren't typically gamers. So that's great. That's awesome. So Nintendo, again, it's just he's basically, though he's not saying that there's not going to be a Switch Pro, what he's saying is the Nintendo Switch is doing well and they're pleased with its performance at the moment. So why, reading between the lines, why would they replace it? Why would they spend development and marketing costs on a new console when the one they've got is just doing just fine?
Yep. There's a little bit of clarification question after that one. Below, he talks more about the Switch Pro, and Bowser's answers there is pretty much repeating the Nintendo Switch and Switch Lite sold in the 4th year very strong, and they believe they're changing the trajectory of another typical console life cycle, and will continue for the foreseeable future to really lean into both of those platforms and the content that comes with it. It's a symbiotic relationship that makes the real difference. That's why Nintendo Switch is so differentiated. And then he goes on to highlight like the portable nature of it. What that comment plus what you said, where other people like non-traditional gamers are coming into the picture, is exactly the Wii. This is a repeat of the Nintendo Wii success. Boom. Grandma and grandpa are playing. It's accessible. Everyone wants to play games like Wii Bowling. In an era where PS3 and Xbox 360 were crushing the HD, 1080p, 720p game content using these new HD TVs. And then the Wii was over here with its composite, I don't know which one, video cable that could do 480p. And it looks so like blurry on these big, awesome TVs. And so they were behind, and people were complaining about it. And the games that were ported to the Wii were often completely like changed to be something entirely different. Like there's versions of Call of Duty on the Wii that are just not the same thing at all, even though they use motion controls and such. And Nintendo, that is like the best-selling Nintendo console ever, is the original Nintendo Wii. So they're doing that again with the Switch. There's no reason for them financially to upgrade. Gamers are clamoring for it. Everyone wants a 4K Switch because everyone's got 4K TVs and or Series X's and PS5s, and they all want that. I do too, but Nintendo has no viable reason to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could see being a motivating factor for them, which would be my only quote-unquote hope for a new thing. First of all, this isn't a no. He's not saying no.
Right.
He's just, once again, saying that there is nothing to announce at this time, and they're pleased with the Switch. So, by context, reading between the lines, I think it's safe to say that they don't have plans that they're willing to reveal yet. But I would say that the Switch made it very clear when the Switch was released that they were vying hard to try to maintain third-party support. And as third-party developers begin to move more and more onto the higher-powered next-gen consoles, it'll be harder, I think, for Nintendo to maintain that level of support for the console. Mm-hmm. So I can see that being a motivating factor for them to release a more powerful Switch.
Right.
But we may not see that coming into effect for another 2 years after the consoles come out, because in the meantime, most third-party developers are still making stuff for the underpowered consoles, so to speak, and will be continuing to do so, at least doing dual launches for a while to come. So, yeah, that would be my only argument, kind of, in the other direction, is Nintendo is very interested in maintaining third-party support. So, hopefully that means they will be interested in maintaining third-party support as third-party support begins to require more powerful hardware.
Yeah, so. And then what Bowser didn't really touch on is this whole streaming thing that's happening outside of the US. You can actually stream full-blown high-resolution games onto your Nintendo Switch docked onto a TV, kind of like Stadia or Project xCloud for Microsoft. And it's doing well in foreign countries, but in North America we don't have it yet. And so that's an interesting prospect to kind of bolster the third-party support, if you will, for that. But the Switch's internet infrastructure is garbage, so they better fix that if you're going to start streaming high-quality 4K images to that. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that's all we have time for the night, so it doesn't look like we have any viewers, so we probably don't have any questions to answer. But if you're watching this later, either on Twitch recap or whatever, or on YouTube, which this episode will be up on by the time you watch it, then please give us any feedback on the news stories we talked about. Apologies for the mic issue. I don't know what's going on with my mic. This happened in the previous, or this will have happened?
In the future, there'll be an episode where it dropped like that.
There's an episode where it drops again too, so it's more recent for me. But it is something that I'm going to try to figure out so it stops happening. So, in the meantime, we hope that you guys have a good rest of your week. Termite, why don't you close us out?
Sure. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification bell so that you're made aware of every time we post a video online. We post our weekly gameplay streams that we do live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. here on twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash. And for more podcast content, always keep an eye on 80bitpodsmash.com. Go to your favorite subscription podcast service and hit the subscribe for us on that so that you get notified every week when we have a new episode. That's it.
Bye!
See you later.